at you on a hot day. I mean, it's hot. I mean, it went up to 106 today that I know of here where I am. You know, my wife agreed to go out and run an errand with me because we were sitting in the air conditioning of the car, you know, and we went to a restaurant with air conditioning, and their air conditioning went out. I mean, that's how bad it is out there. We're in Oregon. This is Portland, Oregon. We don't get heat like this. And I don't know if you can tell, it's hazy behind me. You don't normally see haze. If I move the camera around, you just see how ugly it is here. There are numerous fires north of British Columbia, Vancouver, British Columbia, and the smoke has made it all the way 350 miles down to us. Big shout out to Paulie Detmurds. If you don't know who he is, find his channel, Paulie Detmurds. Paulie sent me a message today, I'm tired of the smoke. I can handle the heat. Well, it's cooler where he is, so I can't handle either. So it's a beer review time. Beer review time. That's right. I've also got a shout out for a guy on a channel. You've seen it here first. You know, I don't know his name, but I'm going to put a link for him down as well for his channel. He did a review on this beer, and he's a Portland reviewer, just kind of getting things going. So go check him out. A Portland reviewer. Love that. Here it is today. He did this one. That's why I saw it. I was checking out what this was, what style. I've heard different things. This is called Acid Drop IPA. It's from Baerlic Brewing in Portland, Oregon. You've probably never seen me review Baerlic Brewing, but they're pretty well known in the area. And this one's kind of interesting. Now, the other reviewer referred to this as a kettle sour. Now, I know what kettle sours are, but had many of them from friends on the East Coast, make a lot of them. And other people, Dan, ABA, people know who he is. But they call it a sour IPA. So I'll tell you what I think when I try this. It was originally called Dropping Acid, and the problem is the government really didn't like the sound of that. They were worried that consumers were going to think that there were doses of illegal drugs in this, and they're going to start buying it up, which might have been a good gimmick for Baerlic. But basically, they're calling it a psychedelic IPA because they took a lot of hops. Now, what they put in this, by the way, in terms of hops, is Dorado, Amarillo, and Comet. But then they probably put bread or something to make this into a sour ale. They also used pale two-row, and they used wheat in it, so we know it's going to be a hazy beer at that. But they also listed a few other things. They put some lactose in it. That's going to make it a little more hazy. And they used Imperial's Independence yeast. So this should be an interesting beer. Let's get into it. I waited till late to review it because it's about 93 outside now, right? Yeah, nice and cool. But it's going on at 8:30 p.m. All right, here we go. And it's August 3rd for the record. So you can see, sure enough, it's haze. You're not going to see through. It's very light color, though. And that should be, I mean, again, pale two-row and wheat. And it has kind of a wheat look, but it's an interesting color on that a little bit. I almost get a light pink hue off of this, which I find really interesting from the ingredients in it. Let's get the nose, though. Well, it's not a real strong nose, but pale two-row and wheat. But I get that wheat kind of character on it right away. I definitely got a light sour going on. I've got some citrus, almost like an acidic citrus kind of a scent. Wow, it's a really interesting aroma on this. So you are getting citrus. I get a bit of a grapefruit on it, primarily the grapefruit. But you're getting the sour character. You're getting a little bit of Brett character. You're getting the lactose on there. You can tell it's in there. So I'm not getting a lot past that. It's a very simple aroma, but you know, those are some interesting things, you know, and lactose with it too. So I'm gonna go for it. We're gonna dump in, all right? Wow. So this could remind you of a kettle sour for sure. It does not taste like 5%. And at the backside, it just thinned right out to like almost watered out, and starts clearing out the palate. And then you just get a little residual bit of the sour on it. All the flavors on the front. Wow. I don't know if I'd quite go to the psychedelic. This isn't a potent, strong beer. It tastes like an extremely sessionable beer. And at 5%, it pretty much is for here in the U.S., but it tastes like it's 3.5, literally to me. It's so light tasting. Right at the front, you get a light sweetness. You get a very light sour character on it. You get a little more of a sour, maybe a hint of some funk, a bit of a grassiness on the backside, and a light bitterness that hangs on, which is probably a mix of the sour and the hop characters. El Dorado, we know that could be real tropical and fun. Amarillo is going to bring those orange characters in. Off the top of my head, I can't think what Comet does. This time I got a little bit different kick on there. I got big old pear, a lot of pear, but it has that sour kick to it, but it's such a light sour. This would be a fantastic beer, kind of like how Kettle Sours are. It'd be a fantastic beer to kind of introduce someone. So I wonder if this was a Kettle Sour that they just hopped up and they're calling it a sour IPA. The carbonation's so perfect. It's just like light carbonation. It's going to be really tiny bubbles. It's in there, but you don't see it rising up. I think they did a fantastic job. That is like a Kettle Sour style. And you get that lacto in there. Again, it's very light. It almost muddles it, to be honest, though, a little bit. So it's not what I would call bright, hoppy characters. What this is really a light beer for a hot summer day, and actually works pretty well, even though it's 8:30, but still in the 90s. The only place where you really get a kick is mid-palate. The front comes on smooth. You get those flavors. Mid-palate kind of hits you on the back and the side of the tongue with that bitter character, the bitter bite going on. And then, like I said before, it still kind of washes out on the palate. Now, as I'm drinking it, a light bit of bitterness is building. That definitely is going to be coming from the hop character. But wow, I mean, it's just, this one's hard to describe. So what I'm going to do, take a little time with this, and I'll be back with some conclusions and numbers.
Dudes, it's time to drop some more acid.
Oh, it's time, all right. All right, here we go. This particular beer is best consumed in big mouthfuls. Which is not really how I normally drink any beer, let alone a Kettle Sour. But somehow more of those flavors seem to hit my mouth when I do it that way. So it's 5%, so it's not going to kill me off. Although it is a little bit bigger bottle, right? But hey, we'll take that. That's good. So what do I think about it? I don't know. It's interesting. It's kind of a fun beer. Honestly, I think they would have been better than calling it a sour IPA. I think they would have been better to call it what I believe it is. I think the other reviewer was right. I think it's a Kettle Sour, and call it a hoppy Kettle Sour than an IPA. And some of those description were as good sales on their part. You know, bright citrus, psychedelic IPA. Yeah, there's nothing bright. And they added lactose and wheat. They toned the thing down. That's not how you get bright and crazy psychedelic, that's for sure. So take it from a brewer, right? But it's a fun beer, and it's a good one for an evening like this. All right, so what do we do for ratings? I'm just not going to rate it as an IPA, because if I did, it would have to get a very low score. So we're going to go for a Kettle Sour, because I really believe this gentleman on this other review is right. I'll put a link down for his review. I think he was dead right on that. And for a Kettle Sour, it's pretty fun. I think there are better ones out there. I know the style well, and I think that it would have done much better just going with fruit and stuff. But hey, they're experimenting, and I love that, and I encourage that. But even for a Kettle Sour, I can't give it a whole lot. I'm going to give it an 86 for a Kettle Sour. Overall, I'm going to drop just a little bit, but not much. I'm going in an 85, and I think that it's a solidly well-made beer, as I said before. It's really an interesting style. It's tasty. It's a good one for an evening like this. This would be a great lawnmower beer. And this brings up an interesting topic of discussion. I'd love your opinion. What do you think about drinking and driving when it comes to riding lawnmowers? Now, personally, I think the fact that they call things lawnmower beers, that means it's totally legal, right? Cheers, Paulie. Hey, so just be careful when you're out there on your lawnmower riding it around. Especially if you've got little areas that have wet patches, and then you hit the dry patches and stuff. Shit can happen. This is a fun beer. I say you should check it out. Here it is again. It is the acid drop. Originally, they tried to name it Dropping Acid. I love that. It's from Baerlic Brewing out of Portland, Oregon. This is Kevin at Clemens here. I'm saying life's too short to drink cheap beer. And I'll see you on the next beer review.